What's up guys, the Strong Boys 19 here, and we are all here, finally, to be back into the Metallica discography. Today I'm going to be reviewing the band's newest and 11th album, entitled 72 Seasons. This album was released on the 14th of April 2023, making this the band's second album to be released through the Blackened label, and to have Greg Fidelman as the band's producer and mixer. This is the follow-up to 2016's Hardwired to Self-Destruct. With the anticipation for myself and many, the hype for the new Metallica album has never been higher, and while this album has been the longest amount of gaps for new releases for Metallica in this now over 40-year running career, I think the overall whole result of this album has given me a lot of the respect and the appreciation. There's a lot of effort and the heavily dedicated direction in this point of the band, and when I was really looking into these lyrical contents, they have absolutely got to feature some of the most heartbreaking, vulnerable, and heartfelt expressions of lyrics dealing in these heavily deep, dark topics that I will go to on every single song. And yet alone I have talked about, very briefly I may add as well, of 2 separate singles out of the 4 that have been released prior to the album's release. Those 2 songs I've talked about for a bit being 72 Seasons and If Darkness Had a Sun. Let's go into the album track by track without any stoppings. The first and title track of the album, 72 Seasons. Anticipation through the cymbal hits and Robert's bass in his picking style to bashing chord hits to pump the song's introduction. Super fun with lightning rhythmic speed and chugging, riffing, packing galore of the whole tonality of the band. The majority of the song continues the same placements with confidence and hype with the music. Excellent pre-chorus and striking chorus vocally, tightly building the catchy progression. The verses address the feeling of anger that remains and going through these past traumas while trying to escape from it all and trying to change at the same time. The darkness has been facing itself within and thinking some people may be born into this emotion. The wrath of man has the big theme of itself in the whole creation of the song. The words on the chorus reinforce his anger, many continued words from the destructive effects of anger and leading into controlled and addictive behaviors. There are other lines of anger being demonic and barbaric and suggesting the nature of it and how it can consume a person. It's an awesome song, even into the later key changes, pointed out determination of its whole path and addressing points of view. Shadows follow, attacked drum patterns and digging intensity in hooks and power, following this loop of guitar playing. The later placements onto the pre-chorus and its key change as well to the chorus, they sounded so stellar and unique, which fulfills a better strength of the music. The lyrics deal with the mental state on the edge of a collapse and attempts that have occurred to escape or get away from these negative emotions and experiences like demons and hate. The feelings later on would multiply and doesn't make the running out feeling happen from these inner demons within this person's own system. The struggles were continuing and pursued from the demon's actions. The track did grow on me. I was really on the fence with this one at first, but the more I was listening back to this, I did appreciate this a lot better, despite a bit of the very repetitive formula on the structure, but the later parts of the song was better for me over time. James's vocals were also controlled and nailed on point. Screaming suicide, probably one of the most graphic lyrics. The change with the wah-wah lead opening from Kirk and jumping into the faster pacing in separate key changes. Lars's drumming did sound as energetic, moving into some bits of double bass pedaling with his techniques. The riffs bringing this charisma and punch through this character of the instrumentation. Heavily detailed from the clinical depression, tends to be genetic, therefore given at birth. More intensity in the thoughts of self-harm and other actions and preventing them. Instead, being forced to focus on the negative side of it all than wishing things positively. There are other lyrics about the fear of mistakes to problems and as well as for everyone that eventually it did make everything go down into its darkest holes. These intentions from the voices in the head, and if they're worthy to escape it, as deep and really honest these lyrics were, this track did grow on me as well. It stands out in this desperation from Hetfield's point in his words here. It's a really, really good song and remaining as consistent in its well-projected vocals and rocking edge of the music. Sleepwalk My Life Away. Many parts of this music strangely makes me think about the 70s period of Black Sabbath. Think about some of the stuff from Sabbath Bloody Sabbath or Sabotage. Some of these riffs really makes me think about those similarities in the instrumentation. But this is a song which has been a mostly crunchy, thick, and consistent roll in this direction. The lyrics detail into the whole emotions of going through the same things over and over again, and nothing's going to change into something better. Hence the words from James's wish of doing these moments in his sleep and even in dreams. This is like a bluesy focus, and I really like this one, especially into the change of beats in like a breakdown section style after the whole soloing from Kirk. It's a very great addition because of its weary, yet personally I think relevant form from the imagery in these words. And Sleepwalk My Life Away is terrific. You Must Burn. The main purpose of the song musically was there, but unfortunately it feels like it's very similar without getting anything new. It's very predictable and quite pedestrian to me to this point. The pacing was decent, but so subpar from the whole execution of the writing into the song. There was a reference of a theme that takes back to The Shortest Straw, all about a modern-day witch hunt. Besides, there are other views onto an attack on cancel culture this time around, with people who are being very negative and say you're doing things wrong. Also, how cancel culture is looking into the next person to be another target for them to bring them down. And that's what the suggestion of what this title of the song is all about. This adds another similarity in this hook of Sad But True, obviously from the Black Album. Some of Kirk's cleanest and precise playing and soloing, which is also a big plus that I like so much. But besides that, this is sadly one of my least favourites on the album, in my opinion. Lux Eterna. This is another refreshing movement back to something like what Metallica did do from the early days, like with Kill 'Em All, obviously, to like Battery from Master of Puppets. The lyrical contents are just very simple to this one. It's all about bringing in the excitement and the feeling of getting together for a concert and to love the music that's being played. It is exhilarating, it's thrilling, and as basic these words go, this wholly fits in with the rest of this album. Then the second half of the album continues on with one of my other standout picks, Crown of Barbed Wire. This is to me the most creative song out of the whole stuff on this record, built-in riffs with an awesome constant amount of deep, heavy tones, a crown on the head, and pursuing a destiny and the right to rule, but transforms the person into a power-filled, greedy soul and splitting the facade to their true self. Result of the crown begins to rust, and as well as the rest of the empire begins to rust in themselves as well as they're bleeding, which is the upcoming fate of this person. The lyrics are also adding the description of the mental and physical anguish that's been happening due to the continuing process of the crown rusting and the empire rusting. The person becomes uncontrolled, like an ode to King Nothing from the Load album. And I obviously do know that King Nothing is one of my most favourite later Metallica songs. This is a really, really interesting song, and it's fantastic into this difference of diversity, and the whole song has been packed into something, for me, as unique, and I really think this is something quite original at the same time. Chasing Light. This makes an alike similarity of music from like the Black album, which is a pretty solid direction. The writing to the song still continues the same parts as we've heard before, like the last few tracks, which is a bit of a flaw. There are moments that the predictability do become so visible when I listen to this album. But nevertheless, the words grab the listener in, to me, like a biological sense, from childhood, and learns to grow and chase the goals, dreams and ambitions, yet to face the opposites, that are the setbacks and the darkness, a balance to go through from these facts without the struggle and the sacrifice. The music was enjoyable, but it doesn't work as perfectly in the same position that gravitated me and to love, but I do like the whole premise side of this. James's vocals sounded so impressive, especially when he rises his vocals on the chorus, and he delivers so much passion into this track. If Darkness Had a Sun, this was a song which I really wanted to let it grow with me, but I will say my full thoughts on this. The track was set at first into some intriguing performance, constant pieces involving some more bluesy, repetitive riffage. There was some action to it, but to think about this song after listening to the tracks that I have been growing to really like, there's a bit of the lack of variation to this song and didn't make a crafted, separate arrangement. I liked this song, but the previous tracks were balanced and perfect, made in a better ability and stronger creation. It doesn't feel as so inspired, with its bit of a filler appearance to me, and that's a bit of a disappointing opinion to say that, but you know, with that being said, this is still an okay song, never one of my favourites on this record. Has the words of temptation, which is the urge of doing a bad thing. This existence of it leads to someone trying to do a bad thing, and then leads to darkness, whether it's big or a small one. These feelings that are trying to get into your mind, it makes sure you are following these desires. The later verses make a reference to the similar vein of words like Harvester of Sorrow from, obviously, And Justice for All, being all about this child abuse. Then the next track, Too Far Gone, surprisingly makes some kind of this positive, uplifting moment on the chorus, but as a song itself, deepness of paranoia about isolation. And the fear of it was so huge through James's personal points, wanting to escape this mentality, as it's described as a prison in his meaning. The song is blistering in its memorable, quicker-paced, thrashing ride. It's one of the highlight songs to me, in my opinion. The bridge section also connected more guitar virtuosity in its harmonies. This adds the best of both worlds, from harmonies to amazing riffs. It's perfect in its whole entirety. The second to last track, Room of Mirrors. Stupendous song. It shows the band getting in the vibe, effective, progressive moments, and Hetfield's vocals were belting out a lot of his power. I love a lot of this interaction of twin guitar greatness later on. Sounds beautiful. It should have been a big thing, in my opinion, that I wanted to hear something like this. Hearing these dual guitar moments, it makes something as special. This is all about the dedicating musicianship with the band being together and sounding ferocious. The lyrics were masking into the broken state of feelings, of self-judgment and reflection in this very expressive motif. Being afraid to be the true self out of the fear of judgment. I do love this song. It was something that I did not expect to love as much. Then the last track, Inamorata, the longest song in Metallica's career, 11 plus minutes. The most draining, lost, heartbreaking sense. Besides, with a lot of the lyrics being so dark and heavily context driven in the details, why Hetfield wanted to let these emotions and feelings out, but this track is no exception. The whole purpose of this track goes in this whole brave inspiration, and I think the more I think about this track, it's about the estrangement between James and his wife. They were separated, and the key to the song is top-notch. It's engaging, slower, but expanding and very moody. The words of you being introduced to people as ghosts or emotions that are negative they live with, finding the comfort of the familiarity and unfortunately go through the pain and grows like a cancer. The whole song with the repeated word of misery is themed like with My Friend of Misery from the Black Album, spreading this whole pain and making it a trap. The word misery was needed by James. This is about a woman he loves, but the word misery is that woman. The love was unhealthy and realizes misery is not what they're living for. Very traumatic in his experience from conversations and the nature of the relationship that sadly has been deteriorating. I adore, again, the dual guitar solo when James and Kirk play together. It comfortably fits in this whole journey. It's wonderful to hear the band sticking together and make this glorious wonder of a track. Overall, 72 Seasons by Metallica. To me, I was really impressed with this album. I do understand the criticisms, like I've mentioned, about the flaws of predictability and not as inventive progressions of anything new, but I have wholeheartedly really liked this album, and the production is so much better. Besides the drums from the mixing sounding quite similar to the sound from Hardwired to Self-Destruct, drums-wise, but I really like the heavily reflective and as personal and dedicated choice with Metallica's own admiration of making music in this way. Let me know what you think of this album in the comments down below. Do you love this album? Is this one of your favourite Metallica albums? And is this one of your favourite albums of the year? I'm going to give 72 Seasons by Metallica, I think it has to be an 8 out of 10. So when I will be ranking Metallica's discography, I will have to be really paying attention of where these albums, now involving this one, are really going to go, but in the favoritism side of things. So, that being said, guys, I am really here to complete the Metallica discography with my own finale to say thank you very much for watching the reviews of the band's discography, and I'm very pleased you guys have been liking them. So, that does it for my review for 72 Seasons by Metallica, and to complete the discography at this point. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll keep you guys posted for more videos in the near future.